Today I'm going to talk about broadcasting magic, and this will be the first of a two-part series. The second will be receiving or reading magic. So today I'm basically going to talk about the different ways that you can tap into this frequency that I think is in the universe. The universe has a consciousness that permeates everything, obviously people and animals and plants, which has been proven, and even I think rocks and the ether and all these different levels and layers of consciousness. So, well, first we're going to talk about how numbers and letters can influence the universe. So numbers and letters have magic power. Imagine them as energy. Think of the universe as a vast metaphysical computer. Computers take commands as numerical code, and the code produces words, images, and sounds. We can influence the larger organism. A lot of this comes down to the magician's will and their intent. And I mean, if you think about numbers and letters, and you think of each line as a stroke, there's an intent there. It's an action, and I think that communication is obviously an intent. Now, in this case, I believe that this is a kind of science, although I would say it's more of an abstract science. So words like abracadabra have power because of their numerical significance in creating a sigil. A magician states a desire by writing it down, by spelling it, by crafting a spell, scribes it into reality, removes the vowels to simplify the letter string, to make them more potent, arranges the letters into a symbol. The alphanumeric cipher, letters bound up with numbers, projects into reality as a command. The command influences the universal mind. So here is a spell for abracadabra, which means I will create as I speak in Hebrew, or create like the word in Aramaic. Abraxas is the sort of Latin and Greek variation, and it's written up for creation and down for destruction. Abraxas also happens to be the symbol for the Knight Templars, and that's on the bottom right of this slide. So a sigil is a pictorial signature of an angel or other entity, or a symbolic representation of a magician's desired outcome. And here are some excerpts from my book where I explain it. I'll show you how to make a magic seal called a sigil. The magician acknowledges a desire. He lists the symbols and arranges them into a glyph. Using Gnostic techniques, he reifies the sigil and then by force of will hurls it into his subconscious, where the sigil works unencumbered by desire. It creates complexes in the unconscious that connect to the collective subconscious. He slid the paper in front of me, and in his scrawl it read, "Dominique desires to know magic." On the dance card, he scratched out a bunch of the letters with the pencil. Then he made a list next to the sentence. It comprised the letters DMNQ, DSRS, T, KNW, MGC. Eliminate the vowels so that distillation occurs like in alchemy. Then he rearranged the letters until they formed a symbol. Make the sigil with as few lines as possible. Once the image takes form, it binds the desire. Could this work? I doubted it, but I humored him. Now that I have the symbol, I need to charge it. Once you've done this, you can use whatever way seems most intuitive to charge the sigil. Burn, bury, drown, etc. Here, I'll burn it. He placed the dance card to his cigarette, and it burst in flames. After a second, before it could hurt his finger, he threw it on the ground and stomped on it. Then he said, "Now we wait." Until when? He put out his cigarette. Until the magic happens. With a smile, I said, "I'll be waiting a long time." Another method is the magic square. So a magic square is a means to attract the influence of planets and their angels or demons. All the numbers add up to the same sum, and that sum holds power. I should also mention that all of these abstract sciences like sigils and magic squares have countless books filled with interesting information. There are too many to name here, but if you're interested, I would research it. There's quite a lot of information on all of this out there. One of my favorite methods is the cut-up or collage. Beat writers William S. Burroughs and Brian Geisen, known occultists, created the cut-up method. Burroughs did this with his novel Naked Lunch by randomly reordering the chapters. In the bottom pick, he's also using a tape machine to create sound cut-ups. And on the right there, that is an experiment where they cut up the paper and then rearrange those squares to make new text. Art can be magic as well. The two images on the left are from Hannah Hock, a Dadaist of the 1920s. The one on the right is one of mine. I've used this process to write many of my books and to get past creative blocks, and in this case to try and forget some negative thoughts or sort of push them out of my body. And I actually recently had this come to pass. There was something that had been bothering me for a long time, and it was really difficult to get rid of it, I guess. Not get rid of it, that's not the right word. To resolve it, I guess, is a better word. And I struggled with it for many years, and then I finally made this. And it took a long time. It took maybe 2 years for this to actually happen, but I do believe that it resolved itself. And it resolved itself in a very abstract way, and it's really difficult to explain, but you definitely, as someone that created it, I can feel that it kind of came full circle and closed itself. So, sometimes when you're making these things, you don't actually know why you're making them. And then as time goes by, you start to understand that the images have a message. And I'll talk more about that in the second part of this series, the second video in Receiving Magic. I think the way these things work is they're so personal and subjective that really only you can see the results. If you show it to someone else, often they just are like, what is this? But you could make some kind of sigil or image, or even write a poem or something and not exactly know what is happening with it or what its intent is, even though you have the intent to create it. And I guess over time your perception can sort of decipher it and come up with, it's almost like solving a puzzle in some ways, and I'll talk about it more in the next video. But I think that's all for today. Take care, have a good day.